Welcome to my show. This is your host, Mario Vega, and today we're going to be talking about the inner and outer self. Think about what you're thinking about right now. Is it chaotic? Is there anxiety? Are you thinking bad thoughts? Are you thinking good thoughts? Are you happy? Are you sad? Whatever it is, all right? It really affects your outer world, all right? Does this make sense to you or does it? Well, let's continue with the article. The tension between inner and outer self, all right? So we're gonna go table of contents, outer self, inner self, conflict, and then some balancing. The tension between the inner self and the outer self is common in the modern world. Each of us is tugged in multiple directions every day of our lives. We know that, right? You know how chaotic life is and can be, right? However, becoming aware of your inner self is how it balances with your outer self. It is the foundation for good mental, physical, and spiritual health. All right. This is why it's so important. It's so important to it's an important aspect to consider when you're working on a good balance in your life. All right. Spiritual health. All right. So your spiritual health is, what is spirituality? I'm just going to go over this really quick. Spirituality is a broad concept of a belief in something beyond the self. It strives to answer questions about the meaning of life, how people are connected to each other, truth about the universe, and other mysteries of the human experience, right? That's what spirituality is. The outer self. At times, it is helpful to present a different outer self to the world than what we're experiencing on the inside. We all know that. People wear masks. We all do to a degree. Some a little less than others because they want to be authentic and they want to be themselves. So then the people with masks want to shit on other people who don't have to wear a mask. Ask me how I know. Most of us weigh the pros and cons of sharing our true feelings depending on what we expect in each set of circumstances. Our outer self is what we present to the world, and we usually try to curtail it or curate it to reflect the best. However, problems arise when this becomes a habitual pattern at the expense of our true feelings. I suggest that you start being more authentic with yourself. I suggest that you go inside and deal with your childhood trauma, because this is what this is about. All right. Do yourself a favor and align yourself with your inside self to your outer self. All right. The outer self is generally concerned with material things, right? Like clout chasing, cars. Oh, I need to have a BMW. I need to live in this kind of neighborhood. I need to have this kind of career. Good for you. Such as how you present yourself. Yes, the outer self is generally concerned with material things, such as how you present yourself, hair, clothes, etc., as well as groups that you belong to or personas that you portray. Does that ring a bell with you? All right. Your outer self spends its time coping with the demands of school, work, home life, and whatever other real world distractions you experience each day. That's your outer self. Okay? The inner self. In contrast, the outer self and inner self is about what cannot be seen. You know, like the abuse that you went through, right? Maybe narcissistic abuse, maybe some physical, psychological abuse by your parents or a loved one, all right? And maybe you're suffering by your own hand by dealing with what happened in your past with drug use, alcohol abuse, porn addiction, and things like that. Why are we talking about that? Because those are the things that I went to, and I no longer do any of that in my life, all right? I don't, and it feels amazing because you have to work on the inside of you, because that's what matters the most. You can't be wearing a mask out there and expect to have a balanced life, okay? In contrast, the outer self and the inner self is about what you cannot see: feelings, intuition, values. What are your values? Do you have any values? Beliefs, personality, thoughts, emotion, fantasies, spirituality, desire, and purpose. Do you have a purpose, or do you just aimlessly walk through your life? That is horrible if you just walk through life being unhappy. All right? Unhappy. So finding your purpose is living in living is more than a cliche. Learning how to live your life with purpose can lead to a sense of control. Are you out of control? Satisfaction and general contentment. Feeling like what you do is worthwhile. Arguably a significant key to being happy. Do you feel happy? But what this means is different for each person. It means difference for each person. The article touches on a few helpful strategies to find and steer your rudder into something that you want to do in life that'll give you purpose. What are you into? What are you strong at? You know, maybe you make videos, and maybe you do whatever you do. Find something that you want to do that brings you happiness. All right? So, conflicts between inner and outer self. Problems begin when the inner self and the outer self are in conflict or out of balance. Do you find that in your life? You should really fix yourself, all right? So you can have a better life. It is, in its simplest term, a conflict between the inner and outer self refers to a mismatch. You think one thing, but do another. See? The greater the conflict, the wider the difference between the inner self believes the right and what the outer self does. This conflict ultimately causes stress that can be damaging to the mind, body, and spirit. Do you feel defeated? You really have to know yourself, okay? It doesn't matter who you have around you. It doesn't matter who you're dating. It doesn't matter that you have a nice car with a big house, but you're still miserable inside and at home. That sucks. Often this conflict arises due to spending too little time considering your inner self. How much of the time are you running on empty? Just struggling to get through the demands of the day, without considering whether your actions and behaviors are in line with your inner self. This is why it's so important for you to deal with your past. Do you love yourself? Do you even know how to begin to love yourself? You should stay tuned and subscribe. Unless you're a hater and you just want to report my videos just because. All right? Because there are people like that. They just want to report because your inner self and outer self is out of alignment and you want to take it out on somebody else. Shame on you. Because you deserve everything you get. The conflict between the two selves can result in stress, which makes you more vulnerable to illnesses. Your daily function may also be affected. You may feel successful on the outside, but empty on the inside. That's probably you, right? Because you got to make somebody else's life shitty because your life is shitty. Yeah. You might be a lowlife. I'm not saying you are, but you might be a lowlife. When this happens, you may also be at risk for a quick fix, like drugs and alcohol, or sex. Meaningless sex because you don't feel good about yourself. See how important it is? When this happens, you may also be at risk for quick fixes to heal your pain, such as turning to drugs and alcohol. You have a problem with alcohol and drugs? You probably do. If you're not happy in your life, and if you don't align yourself, and if you want to try to rip people down, then, you have some issues. One way to identify if you are experiencing a conflict between your inner and outer self is to identify gaps between your true values and outer actions. For example, take a moment to list your core values. Do you know what your core values are? Do you know what beliefs are your beliefs, or you believe something that somebody else tells you to believe? That is super dangerous if you leave your life to someone else. These might be things like believing in values of honesty, integrity, friendship, helpfulness. Do you believe in any of those? Probably not. Probably not, right? Right? Probably not. That's on you. You see, that's why it's so important to get to know you. All right? Make a list of activities that you do each day. What is it that you do every day? Do you hate on people? Do you want to take down people? Then, you're not a good person. Make a list of what you do every day that is in alignment with the values that I just mentioned. Are you honest? Do you have integrity? Do you even know what integrity is? Probably not, right? Probably not. All right. For examples, this might include calling friends to see how they are doing or telling the truth even when it is difficult. Balancing the inner and outer self. Once you've identified the problematic areas in your life, it is time to begin quieting your outer self with a goal of connecting with your inner self. Start meditating. Do yourself a favor and start meditating, okay? Slow down. Focus on the moment and listen to your thoughts as you go about your day. Do you even have time to listen to your thoughts? Or is your life so chaotic? I feel for you if your life is chaotic. But again, it is because of you. You are in charge of your life. You and you alone. So if you have a shitty life, it's because of you. If you still feel in conflict, consider whether you might need to make life changes to address the issues. Perhaps a new job, change of relationships, or ending a friendship that might be in order. You have to stop being afraid of doing things for you. Maybe there's a YouTube channel that you want to start. Maybe there's something else that you want to do, okay? Leave whatever it is. You see, I once had a job that I left because people were shitty. Because people, I don't like you because you're outgoing. I don't like you because you love yourself, and so on and so forth. And these people kept complaining about me, and it's like, deuces, I'm out. So that's why I live a great life, because I don't deal with people and their bullshit, okay? I don't deal with it because people who give you problems and want to take you down are usually pieces of shit. They know how shitty their life is, and they're going to try to take you down because that's what people are, crabs in a bucket, all right? I get rid of those people in my life. No one is in my life because most people are not aligned with themselves. And what are they going to do? Try to take you down, try to call YouTube, report, turn subscribers against you, because that's what people do. Lowlifes. So, if you still find conflict, like I said, you need to look at the inside and outer selves, okay? Your inner and outer self. Perhaps new job. Maybe you need to change your job. Maybe you need to change the way you think. Maybe you need to look in the mirror and say, hey, you know what? I am the problem. Nobody else is the problem. You're the problem in your life. Only you will know the specific changes you might help align you with your true inner self. You know what you're doing, okay? While thinking about what changes you need to make, it may help to ask yourself the following questions, okay? Here's a hint for you. Does your current life require you to stifle deeply held values? Like I said, I left the job because there were haters. There were a bunch of people that couldn't handle the fact that I don't do drugs. I don't sleep around. I've been celibate for 12 years. I don't do drugs. I don't do any of those things. And these people at work, hey, you do you, boo. You do you. But the amount hate I had because I didn't do those things, oh my God. People are crabs in a bucket. Maybe you know some crabs in a bucket. Maybe you are the crab in the bucket. What do you most want purpose in life? What's your purpose? Do you have a purpose? Or is it to destroy me? Keep going, because you're going to fail. Because you're going to fail, I guarantee it. Does this match what you are doing? Will you feel good about the choices you are making? Probably not. Probably not. At the end of your life, think about if you die tomorrow. What does your life say about you? That would be terrible. Again, this is Mario with Let's Talk About It. And I hope that you found a good message. And I hope that you do try to change yourself. Because most people that can't change themselves don't really have the gonads to look in the mirror. Maybe you are one of those people. And guess what? I feel sorry for you. Sorry, but not sorry. I will see you in a different video.